Hi, welcome to my assignment presentation. Today I am making a video to present to you a lesson plan for visual arts. My lesson plan was guided by the theory behaviorism, and this theory is based on I will be focusing on the positive reinforcement reward of my lesson. Now my lesson for my class will be going, so the theory, I'll be using a point system of reward for my students for my lesson. This is whereby when students are involved, the involvement of the students for the lesson is rewarded. The asking of questions, the answering of questions, the working of the activity is rewarded. So my lesson is, so I'll be using the behaviorism theory to guide my lesson, and I'll be using positive reinforcement, and the students can able to gain points. Now the way how the point system works is that for there are specific points allocated for questions. There are specific point allocated for asking questions and answering questions, as well as participating in the class activity at for this lesson. Now I'll go ahead and explain to you what my lesson plan is about. Now, as I would have said, that I am teaching visual arts, so visual arts is my area, all right, of study. Now, the topic for my lesson is the value scale. The subtopic is to identify and use value scales in drawing. The duration of my lesson is 70 minutes. The previous knowledge used, or the previous knowledge of the students, are students who are taught the elements and principles of art. Now the elements and principles of art are fundamental aspects of visual arts, and this is a vital aspect that will help the students to accurately and properly do today's lesson, which will be based on the value scale. All right, now we all know that without the elements and principles, that art won't really make a lot of sense to us, and so the elements and principles are very vital in students' understanding of the different aspects of art. All right, they lay the foundational work, or the foundational knowledge that students will use to venture out into any other aspect of art. All right, now the grade I'll be teaching for my lesson is grade 8, 8A specifically. The general objective for my lesson is for students to be able to understand the concept of value scale. All right, they're going to also be able to identify the value scale in a given drawing. All right, so that being said, they're going to be able to, when I present the value scale, rather I'll be presenting a drawing to them, and they have to identify various values. All right. The third general objective is apply value skills to their own drawings. All right. So the objective of my lesson is whereby I am hoping that at the end of the lesson that is a rich delivery and a very positive outcome in terms of the lesson will be well taught and the objectives, the specific objectives will be accomplished. All right. So now for the specific objectives of my lesson plan. All right, I have 4 specific objectives, and these objectives are: the first one is based on the explanation and demonstration, students will correctly identify the value in drawing. All right, let me repeat that. So the first one is based on explanation and demonstration, students will correctly define value in drawing. All right. The second one is with the aid of drawing, students will identify at least 5 value skills correctly. All right. So this is where I will present to the class a drawing with different values, and I will of course ask the students for their cooperation in identifying the values after I would have given them the definition of what a value scale is. The third is with the aid of a live object and a movable light, students will identify at least 5 values on a live object under light. This is whereby, okay, after the definition is given of what a value scale is, after they would have seen an image, a drawing of what the values look like, they are now going to be seeing it, the actual thing being set up before them. All right, so this is where I use an object, and I'll have a desk lamp, and I'll place the object under that desk lamp to show forth how the values are being used and how they can be seen with an actual prepared or set up. All right, how it actually look in real life. My fourth objective is, given an objective under light, students will draw and shade the object correctly, demonstrating how to use at least 3 values. All right, now this is whereby students will be given the task after they would have given the knowledge, they would have seen the different values, and now they can identify the different values. Now they're able to apply this knowledge now in a work of art. All right, so that will be the last activity where we get to really see how the students are using this knowledge that they would have just gained. All right, so now the content of my lesson is first where I'm going to give the definition of what a value scale is. All right, and then I have an image I'll present to them. Okay, so alongside the definition, I am also going to give an image showcasing what these values actually look like, rather than just speak out of suspense. Okay, Also, I will have an image of the value scale to show what those values look like. All right, and of course, I will show forth the values on an actual object on a picture. Okay, now for the teacher's activity, all right, for the introduction, okay, I will identify the topic and set the objectives to be achieved and establish rules regarding the reward system to be used in the lesson. All right, now setting the objectives is like setting the tone for my lesson. All right, this is where I'm giving the students the general knowledge of what they would accomplish after this lesson. All right, and all right, so I'm gonna make sure I introduce my lesson. I give clear guidelines and instruction as to how the lesson will go and what the students can expect from the lesson. All right, I'm gonna also make clear to them that with the lesson there's the point system for their contribution and their involvement in my lesson. All right, now for the stage 1 of my lesson, after the introduction, all right, the stage 1, this is where I'll introduce to the students the importance of form, the importance of shading, and the importance of value. All right, I'll give the children a clear explanation as to how that is important and relevant. Okay, so some like setting a tone or a stage for the students being given the information or knowledge. All right, and of course, I will use an image of a three-dimensional sphere to introduce form, shading, and the importance of value. So as I would have said that I'll be using an image, right, of a sphere, and so with the image, I'll use that image to assist me in showing how important it is for form, for shading, and value. And with that, I am basically showing that these cannot be accomplished without the value scale. All right, stage 2 is now this is where I'm going to introduce the value scale, all right, to the students, let them see what it actually looks like. Okay, and I'll give a definition of the value scale. Stage 3 is where I will be demonstrating the value scale via an explanation. All right, yes, so first stage 3 of my lesson, this is where I am going to show an actual drawing to the students. All right, and I will ask the students to well, of course, I will first show the students the different values and so on. Well, I'm showing them the drawing. I'll then allow the students to tell me. All right, of course, with their permission, I'll select students and have them tell me or identify values that they can see based off of what we just went through. All right, after I would have given them an explanation as to what a value scale is. Now they're going to identify on this drawing where they're seeing the different values and if they're seeing the different values. All right, for the conclusion of this teacher activity, this is where I will now examine this where after I would have given the students the task of drawing from the actual live object, I'll now examine their work and I'll recap the concept of what a value scale is, and we're going to work together. All right, I'm going to clarify any questions they might have, any concerns they might have, and right, and comment as necessary. Now for the learners activity, all right, so after we would have introduced the lesson, all right, the first aspect I have here is that students will pay attention to the objective of the lesson and will indicate their level of clarity of the task to be accomplished and the point system to be used. All right, so this is me anticipating that the class is settled in, the students are paying attention, all right, and they are ready and willing to learn or take into this lesson. Okay, now the second learner's activity, students will be part of the discussion and will answer and ask questions relevant to the image shown. Okay, the third one is students will pay attention to the information demonstrated, ask and answer questions, and create a working definition of what a value scale is. All right, this is where I'll ask them questions based on what was taught and so on, and now from their own understanding they're going to tell me what they would have grasped from what they would have learned so far. All right, the fourth one is students will pay attention to the explanation and ask and answer questions given. Students will work in mixed ability groups, point out various values in the image, and display the given explanation. All right, so the another point is students will draw and shade the orange based on the observation. Students will identify three values used in their drawing. All right, and the last one is for the student activity. The students will answer questions and ask and make notes. Okay. Now for the resources of the lesson is I will use the definition of value scale, a drawing of I have the image of a drawing of a sphere, the image of value scale, I have an orange, I'll have a drawing that will be used as demonstration, okay, a desk lamp, a point sheet for the in-class assessment. All right, so let me let you know how this how the assessment rubric now is going to be, or what it's gonna be like. Now remember the objective of the lesson, students are, well, the specific objectives, this is where we're going to see that the specific objectives are also being accomplished. So remember I told you that I'm using the behavioralism theory for my lesson. All right, so for the definition of the value scale, all right, a correct response, meaning that they would have given all the different aspects that surrounds what the value scale is. A correct response, they will be rewarded 2 points, and an acceptable attempt, they'll be giving 1 point. All right, the second rubric is to identify value scale in drawing. Now how this will work is that when the image is being presented, students will be awarded 1 point for each correct scale identified, or for each correct value identified. All right. The third rubric, or the third aspect here, is the drawing and shading of object under the light. Now, for this aspect here, the students will be rewarded for the drawing. They'll be rewarded 2 points for when they are going to be identifying the 3 different for the shading. They'll be giving 3 points for that, how well they shade their drawing. And of course, with the shading and them identifying the value in that drawing, for each value they'll be awarded 1 point. All right. Now the questioning aspect, remember, the lesson is going to be a very interactive one, and so for each question that the child or a student asks, they'll be awarded 1 point. All right. And also they'll be awarded 1 point for an appropriate question asked. All right. So this lesson aims to be very interactive, very hands-on, and a very active one at that. All right. Now the point system is so that of course the point system, we want where the point will aid the students and motivate them to be active in the lesson. The point system is so that based on the point that the students has accessed or gained themselves, that they will now be rewarded. That point will give them a prize. All right. So of course, with all of this being said, remember, the students are being rewarded on their behavior as well. So it's not like if the students will try to take advantage of each other, and some persons will try to do the most, like try to ask and answer as much questions as possible. Everybody will be given a chance. All right. And persons have to raise their hand or indicate when they want to ask or answer a question. Therefore, me having control over the class, giving me control of the class, and that everyone can be attended to and everyone can be involved in the lesson. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening into my lesson. I hope that I would have been clear with the different aspects of my lesson, and that I would have bring some clarity in how my lesson will go and how I plan to accomplish my lesson. Thank you.